Let's get going. So just come into a comfortable seated position, whatever that is for you. And find your sits bones, your comfort. You can rock from side to side a little bit. Just feel what's going on in the hips this morning, in the back. Making sure as you're sitting that you're not rounding through the lower back, but sitting nice and tall on your sits bones. Whether you're on your heels or sitting in a chair, the same always applies. To be right up tall. And let's take a moment to settle in the body. Just noticing what energies are present this morning. What challenges are you working with? Whether they be physical, mental, emotional. And rather than pushing that energy away, let's invite it in. And let's work with it as we move on our mats. So start to get in touch with your breath. Notice as you breathe in, what parts of the body move with the breath. In other words, can you feel that pulse of breath moving into your whole body, not just your lungs? As that muscle of the diaphragm rises and falls. Can you sense into that rise and fall through the whole body? And it's a surrendering, a letting go of tension and gripping and holding up the body that gives us access to those sensations. And perhaps your breath changes and deepens not by trying or effort, but simply by turning your attention more towards it. And you might notice more breath arriving in your chest as you breathe in, or perhaps more in your belly. You can place a hand on your belly and your chest and just notice and watch. Continue to release gripping, holding, tightness. And now let's come down to our backs. And give yourself a moment to arrive. Feel the floor rising up to meet your body and your body touching the floor. And just settle yourself in a way that you feel equal weight on the points that are in contact with the ground. Breathe, and as you exhale, see if you can release the belly tissues towards the ground, emptying. And just check that your chin isn't pointing up toward the ceiling and your neck creasing in the back. Lengthen through the back of the neck and bring the chin parallel to the ground. And if you need a cushion or blanket behind your head, that can help. Okay, so we're going to start working with the legs, bringing one knee in towards the chest. Let's start with the right leg. And you can have the other leg, the supporting standing leg, either bent or long, so you decide what you prefer. So feel the lengthening through the groin of the long leg if you have it long. If your knee is bent, then just squeeze in that knee at your chest a little more and feel what's happening through the lower back and anywhere else you have sensation. You may want to play with having an active foot versus a passive floppy foot. And just notice if you move in between that flex and release, whether you're doing it with just the leg that's, the knee that's hugged in, or you're doing it with a long leg that's extended. Feel the muscle tissue under the palms of your hands. As you flex and point the foot, notice and feel along both sides of the shin or anywhere else. Now you can actively point the foot as well. So we're now flexing and pointing that foot. And then let's start to wiggle our toes. So see if you can, I know I have a sock on so you can't really see my toes, but see if you can isolate the movement of the toes, so the big toe and then each of the little toes, spreading them apart and bringing them close and tight together, giving a squeeze. And then again, opening the toes, spreading them wide, and then bringing them back in tight. And then maybe just some rippling through the toes as best you can. And then we'll start to make some circles with the ankle. So any and all of that you can start to explore on your own. So pointing and flexing the foot. circling the ankle both directions, or playing with the toes. If you notice any clicking or any kind of stuckness, tight little places, just be aware and work with them instead of against them. And then just relax for a moment and feel any sensation as a result of doing that work. More aliveness in the foot or ankle. Let's grab behind that thigh now. We're going to let the foot be floppy for the most part. And then just focus in on your knee joint. We're going to simply extend the leg towards the ceiling. And let's not lock the knee up, so keep a little bit of a bend. But we're just sensing into that knee joint and how it's working for us this morning. Your leg doesn't have to straighten all the way. So just opening and closing that leg from the knee. Try to be still everywhere else in the body. And notice how the muscles in the thigh are also working. And then the next time you bring your leg up towards the ceiling, go ahead and flex your foot so that your heel is pushing upward. And just hold there. You can explore a little bit what it's like to make tiny, tiny little circles in the hip socket, and or bringing that thigh a little closer to your trunk. But don't pull anything, just explore gently. And then release, and we'll hold on to the top of the knee again. And just with one hand, so the other arm can be placed on your belly or alongside your body. You're just going to use the knee like a steering wheel, as one of my clients recently said, to help circle the hip in its socket. So making inside circles and then switch direction and make outside circles. Just finding now how that hip joint is functioning this morning. And again, just noticing what might be happening through the lower back, perhaps the other hip. And see if you can be still everywhere except within that hip joint and really focus in. And that might require you to empty out the belly and really feel grounded in the opposite hip. Just exploring some circles both directions. And then coming back to a centered place, let's slowly extend that leg back to the ground, feeling now the sensation of release in that crease of the hip. And let's take a long body stretch, wrapping the muscles around the bones, lengthening through the body. And release. Standing now, both legs, bending the knees. We're still going to work with that same leg. So now let's come into a figure 4. So just bring your ankle over the opposite knee. And just find where you are with this position today. You might feel really tight here. And you might feel as though you're rolling from one hip to the other. So just notice these things. See if you can find a neutrally centered position on your back. And begin to explore what it's like to move this knee away from you. And maybe it's a really small movement of opening this hip. Or maybe it's, you have a little more flexibility there and it's quite a noticeable movement. So again, without thinking, okay, I am going to push my knee, just allow the body some kindness to explore a gentle sensation, moving that knee downward, away from the body. And if that's comfortable for you, then you might want to bring the standing leg up off the ground and just notice how that affects the body. So one of the things I noticed first was the arch in my lower back and a pouring into my shoulder blades. So just notice, and of course the core is engaged here, but I'm also feeling it quite a bit in the groin of my standing leg. So I might bring the legs a little closer so I can release that a little bit more. And if that's accessible, then that can be done. Also, if it's uncomfortable to hold and you want to release that groin, you can always grab a hold behind your thigh or somewhere on this top leg, and that can help release any tension that's unnecessary. And so as you're here, if you're on the ground, we're just going to make little circles around the sacrum, so the lower back. And if you have your leg in the air, same thing. Just make little circles on the lower back. And here you might really feel it through the outer hip of the bent leg that we're working with. So little circles one way and then little circles the other way. And then if you'd like, either, if your leg is on the ground or in the air, you can just start to rock from side to side. Rock through the hips. And you may or may not reach all the way towards the ground with the movement. So that's not the aim. It's just to feel sensation through the lower back as you rock, and also through the outer hip of the bent working leg or stretched leg. And again, this can be done with the leg on the ground. So if your thigh or your groin is tired from the lift, you can always bring that leg to the ground. Just make sure you're breathing and enjoying the breath with the movement. Can be such a soothing sensation. come back to a centered position. Uncross that leg. Now take a moment to feel. Feel the side that we've worked and the side yet to be done, and notice any differences. I'm actually having some quivering on this side of the body. And then let's bring the other knee into the chest now and work the other side in the same manner. So starting just by bringing that knee into chest. Again, you have the option to keep the other leg bent, standing, or extend that leg. And then from here, you can begin to explore what it's like to have an active foot flexed or a relaxed foot. And just note what changes in sensation. And that can be a lengthened leg if you have this lengthened leg, or in the knee that's in toward the body. Any combination thereof. And then begin to point and flex the foot. And again here, we're feeling the muscles that are working along the sides of the shin as you point and flex, and the connection through the foot. And then you can begin to work your toes again, trying for isolating the toes. And if it's hard to isolate each of the little toes, then just try to isolate the big toes from the smaller toes. And then you can ripple through the toes. Spread them wide, squeeze them tight. And then make circles with your ankles. And now feel free to make any combination of all of those. So wiggling the toes, pointing and flexing the feet, or making circles in both directions. Every moment being aware of where tension may build up in the body so that you can release it. Giving a little squeeze in that thigh towards the trunk. And then release. Grab hold of the back of the leg, and we'll work with the knee joint now. So floppy foot. And then just extending that leg up towards the ceiling, really feeling into that knee joint without locking it as you open and close. Open and close. And then maybe reaching up towards the ceiling with the heel and the toes flexed. And you can release that a few times or hold it up there, whatever you prefer. Feeling the length through the hamstrings, just checking in where they are today. And the side may be very different than the others, so also being aware of that. Last time, reaching toward the ceiling, flexing the toes, and then release. So we'll now hold onto the knee with one hand. The other hand will be extended alongside your body or somewhere comfortable. And then we're just going to, again, steer the hip with the knee, making little circles left and right. Noticing what other parts of the body might want to compensate or get involved. And how you hold your knee with your hand will make different ranges of motion accessible. So you might want to experiment with different positions of your hand. Good. And then when you're ready, you can extend slowly that leg to the ground. We'll do another long body stretch. So just take a moment for that leg to arrive and release. And then bring your arms overhead. Tighten all those muscles around the bones. Reach and lengthen. Deep breath in. And then soften everything, release the breath. Okay, bringing both legs into standing again. And now we'll cross the other ankle over the knee. Same side that we just did. And just feel this position and how it might be for you. The side might feel very different again than the other. And begin to either imagine, if it's really tight, or allow a gentle moving and opening of this groin space as you bring that knee downward and away from the body. And you can go back and forth. You don't have to hold it unless you want to. And then, if you would like, you can lift the standing leg off the ground. And you may or may not want to hold on to either the leg closest to you or under the thigh of the other leg. So and then if that's accessible to you and you're comfortable, you can begin to make little circles along the clock face of your sacrum. And yes, this knee can be on the ground and you can do the same thing. It's just a little different. So whatever you'd like. Make sure you go each direction. Feels so good. Breathe. And then you can begin to just gently rock side to side. Again, the supporting leg can be on the ground or in the air. So just allow a real nice weight through the back so that you're really engaged with the ground and using the ground to massage the back of the body as you roll from side to side. And if tension builds in that supporting leg, you can either bring everything in closer and hold on so that you're not having to hold with the groin muscle, or just bring it back down to the ground and then rock. Good, and then coming back to a neutral position and uncrossing the leg. Taking a moment now to feel both sides of your body, hopefully more equal in sensation, left to right. And as you're in this position, if you find that you're having to really work with the groin to keep the legs up, then just walk the heels out slightly, let the toes turn in, and let the knees fall towards each other so you can release that crease. So let's fall off to one side here so we can come up to all fours. And let's just do a little cat-cow here in a very organic way. Breathing in as you arch the back, or rather, curve the back. I guess this is the arch. I don't know why that always confuses me. Exhaling as you round here. Inhaling as you bring the chest through. Changing weight perhaps forward and back to feel the movement of head and tail and the connection thereof. And then pressing back into a child's pose in whatever variation is comfortable for you. So you can be on your forearms, or you can be all the way back on your heels, arms in front of you, or coming around to the back. Very different sensation both. You can have your knees together with your belly pressing on your thighs. It can be a really nice sensation. Or opening your legs so that your belly can come through. So any of those variations. And if your head is not able to reach the ground, you might want to put a block or something there to catch your forehead so you can really release here. So let's come into a down dog. So back to all fours, pressing the toes back. Just take a moment to find your ground and the support through the bones of the arms. And when you're ready, shift your weight towards your heels and lift through the legs. You do not have to straighten the legs. Keep the knees slightly bent. And you can just shift your weight from foot to foot if that feels good. Grab my shirt here and try to tuck it in. There. So we're reaching and opening the backs of the legs toward the space behind you, allowing the spine to drop through and towards the ground, keeping the head in line with the spine, perhaps the ears aligned with the arms. And breathe, and feel free to come down at any time too, you can rest and take a moment in child's pose and then come back up. If you are staying up and you're comfortable here, then you can explore picking up the heels, pivoting the feet to the right or the left, and then attempting to drop the heels in that angled position. Coming back up to the toes, swiveling around to the other side. And that's completely optional. Whoop, there goes my shirt again. And then from here, we are going to do just a little mini flow that is going to require you to come into plank. Okay, now if this position, this plank position is not comfortable for you, you can always be on your knees, and that will give you a little more support. So what we're going to do is go in and out of downward dog into the plank. And at any time you can rest, go into child's pose if you like. The one thing that you're going to want to be aware of is see if you can find a position where you can go right from one pose to the other without adjusting your hands. So I'm going to demonstrate. So if I have my hands too close, I come into down dog like this, and then I try to go into plank. My arms are way too far back, and it's not pleasant for the wrists, okay? So I'm going to move my hands forward, even though I wouldn't normally go into a down dog like that. And I'm going to kind of push everything forward as I lift. Now, from the down dog, when I come into the plank, my wrists and shoulders are pretty well aligned. So that's what you're wanting to search for here as you go back and forth. So we're reaching back with the tail into down dog, coming forward into plank, high plank. Just going back and forth, again going into child's pose at any time you wish. Or working on your knees when you come into plank. And make sure that you're bringing in all the tissues around the core in towards the center line as your support, especially here in plank. So breathing as you move, breathing in as you come forward. Exhale as you move back into down dog. And for all you power yogis out there, if there are any power yogis out there, if you would like to, as you come into plank, you can draw one knee in towards an elbow and then step back. We'll just do one more set of those. Good, back to down dog and bringing the knees down and into what your preferred version of child's pose. And coming up to sit on your heels. Or if this is an uncomfortable position for you, feel free to sit in a chair for a moment or an easy pose. We are just going to bring the arms in front of the body and just kind of work through wrists, fingers. Kind of what we did with the feet earlier, with isolating each toe. And then flexing and extending and making circles. Okay, so let's grab hold of bolster or pillow or whatever you've got and place it in front of the body You're going to want it to be somewhat this shape. So if it's a blanket, you're going to need to fold it in a way that will support you. And also it will need to be high enough. So you might need more than one little tiny blanket to support your body. What we're going to do is come to sit with the hips right at the bolster or support. And then you're going to turn the trunk towards the bolster and gently lower your trunk onto the bolster. Now you might find having the knees one on top of the other as more comfortable. You might like to have the top leg extended, the bottom leg extended, or the top leg extended forward. So you have all those options to find your comfort here. I think I'm going to just stack mine one on top of the other. And so we enter now into a rest, giving the body a chance to relax into the support and release all of its holdings. As you breathe, notice how the support surface of bolsters, pillows, whatever you're on, relates with the body. What's the relationship there? Can you really surrender to the support of the bolster? And then I have my back arm the same way that I have my front arm, but you could always have your back arm long along the side of the body. If you don't want to have it up, you can also, depending on what kind of surface you have, it can be really nice to hug the bolster or whatever you have, so that's an option too. So I'll be quiet, just breathe and relax. And we'll come out of this side. So you're going to release the support if you're holding it, And use your hands to push your trunk up and then swivel around. And we'll switch sides. So sitting right up against the props, whatever you have, and then turning the trunk to face the bolster, and then lying the trunk over the bolster. Finding how you want your legs. It can be even nice in between while you're holding or just resting to, extend the leg from time to time, or just stay still. Find a comfortable place for your arms, and I'll be quiet on this side and let you just rest. So focus on your breath and the sensation of releasing towards your support. Take a few more deep breaths here. So when I woke up this morning, I actually did this in bed. I did a few variations of this actually on both sides, and it felt so good I decided I'd share it with you guys this morning. So this is something you can do in bed. So let's prepare to come up, just moving the hands, pushing up with the trunk, and swiveling around with the legs. All right. So it's time for Shavasana. Let's come onto our backs, and actually, you know what? Let's use since you got all that, whatever you were using, let's keep it and use it for Shavasana. So you can either put it under your knees or your feet. You could even put it under your chest if you wanted to. So whatever feels good. I'm just going to put it under my knees. So coming onto your back now, and we might as well get really cozy. If you have a blanket, feel free to cover yourself with a blanket. It's turned winter here again for some reason. Okay, it's June. January is what one of my friends posted. I thought that was funny. Okay. So, arriving on the floor, releasing. You don't have to hold yourself up here. It's all about the surrender. Allow tension to drain from the hands and the feet and the crown of the head. With each breath, let the tissues of the face, the little muscles of the eyes and ears and mouth soften and move back towards gravity. Feel the limbs grow heavier, releasing and sinking. And feeling the breath through the belly as it rises and falls. With each exhalation, the fall of the belly becoming deeper and deeper. And thinking once again, bringing your mind to what we started class with, which is whatever was present for you, whatever you were working with today. Whether it was physical, mental, or emotional, or maybe a combination thereof. And just seeing how you are with that now, after our practice. So just prepare yourself to begin some movement in a moment. Maybe as you breathe, you can just start by feeling the back body pushing towards the ground as you breathe in. And maybe arching the back a little as you tip the pelvis towards the feet. Begin a little awakening of the back body. And then moving fingers and toes into the arms and legs. And I'm just feeling a desire to open up through the shoulder blades. So I'm just going to cross my arms and let the elbows kind of point towards the ceiling here for a moment. And then changing which elbow's on top. And then just begin to move a little more so you can do any kind of stretch you want here. A long body stretch, bringing the knees in towards the chest. Yawn. And we'll come on to a fetal position here. Take our moment of rebirth. And then pushing up with the top arm. Coming into a seated position of comfort. Taking a moment of meditation, feeling the body, aware of sensation, state of mind, emotional state. Allowing and loving it all. Let's rub the hands together. Bringing them in towards the chest. A little pocket for your intention between your hands. Breathing in. Hold the breath. If you're familiar with the root locks, pull up. And release. Breathing in to tune out. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.